I'm a bring the homegirl up, man, and let y'all talk to her. You know what I mean? I call this segment of the show. We call it Redemption Hour. It's my homegirl. She she got a story to tell y'all, and it's a really really interesting story. Like, and a lot of people don't make it this far in life or come back from certain situations to being able to talk to people or share their story with people and hopefully reach somebody that it may not have reached if she didn't have this opportunity to talk to people. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna go ahead and bring her around. Yo, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. So
Hello, hello.
what's up? What's up? We gon' I'm gonna take a maybe like a 2 minute break real quick, and we gonna let her talk to y'all, and we gonna get through this story real quick. So give me like 2 minutes. Yo, yeah, we back. We back. Yo, can you hear me, Alana?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yep, I hear you.
Cool beans.
All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and let you start from whatever point you want to start from. I'm gonna mute my mic. All right.
All right. I mean, I guess, how do you want to do this? What do you want me to talk about specifically? What kind of questions do you want to open this up with?
Do you okay? So the thing I thought you was gonna start telling your own story, and I was gonna ask you questions in between it, but we can ask you some shit that I got wrote down. Like,
Yep.
all right, I'm gonna ask you, what was the moment in life that made you think that made all this shit happen, that started all of this in the motion?
Well, I guess I don't know. As cliche as it sounds, I guess I was a troubled child. I got in with the wrong kids in high school, and I started hanging around people I shouldn't have been. I was doing drugs, partying a lot. I met some girls. I come from Buffalo, New York. I have lived in Milwaukee for about 9 or 10 years now. I've traveled from Buffalo to Chicago and Chicago to here. I, from the age of 17 to 22, was a sex worker. I was a prostitute. I sold my body on Backpage and other various platforms. I guess what got it started was I just got in with the wrong people, man. I you know started fighting with my parents. Ended up moving out at a really young age and didn't have a way to provide for myself. I had a friend who was already into this, into the industry, I guess, if you want to say it like that. And one thing led to another. She just said, "Hey, I know a quick way you can make money." And my young, traumatized, I guess, brain, took advantage of that. And once it started, it was pretty much never ending for 5 years. I so I moved from so I
So
had
now I got a question. You said
yeah.
these friends, was they in Buffalo?
Yeah, they were friends. So the girl that actually took me to see my first trick, I guess, is how I'd word it, was actually my best friend growing up's cousin. Her name was Megan.
And that's what I was just about to ask you. So do you remember who that first person? You remember that first person?
Yeah. And she actually ended up doing me pretty dirty a few times later on in life, and it's crazy. Full
Damn.
circle.
So, so she was into that lifestyle as well, right?
Yep.
So
Well before me.
let me ask you something. You never thought in your mind like, okay, wait, she does this, right?
Mm.
So why would she be so willing to give her money to somebody else? Like, is that the only? Was she working for some other dude that she was recruiting
No.
for or something?
So my entire, throughout my, I'm gonna preface it with this, like, throughout my entire experience doing what I did, and um I had always been independent. I never had like a pimp or somebody above me. I never gave anyone my money. It was never any type of situation like that. It's just often girls who live that lifestyle hang out with other girls who live that lifestyle. It's kind of hard to let people in when you're doing something like that. It's a very secretive part of your life, and men like women, men like multiple women. You know, you got a friend, that's like a thing, and especially in
Ah,
the industry. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
they want to see something new. Sex is like people who, you know, buy sex and buy women, they want a variety. You know what I mean? They don't want the
yeah.
same thing
They
often. They
don't
have
want the
wives that,
type. Yeah, yeah.
9 times out of 10, they got girlfriends and wives. And as ashamed as I am to say it like that, like, I have been the other woman. Mm,
Hey, listen, Alana, don't don't do that. You ain't
I'm
ashamed of
not
nothing.
doing it like that. You know what I mean? But, like,
I'm
you know
just
what I mean?
telling you,
It's
you
a
ain't
it's
got
a
nothing to be
good growth,
ashamed of. Life
in
happens to
character,
everybody.
knowing that yeah, I think it's a good character move on my part, recognizing where probably could have been a better person at a
Of
point
course.
in my life. You know what I mean? But yeah, it usually is on some, like, you know, you, when you bring someone else into it, there's more opportunities for you to make money because they want to see two girls, or they want to have those type of experiences.
Right. So now, after that first one, so like you said, she ended up doing you dirty later on multiple times or whatever. So I'm guessing you continue through her until you learned from her, correct?
Yeah, yeah, it was pretty easy to learn to pick up. Backpage was pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah.
Um, they made it
But
pretty
have
easy.
you ever had to deal with the police?
Yeah, actually, I got arrested at 19 for prostitution in Buffalo, New York.
See,
Did some jail time. A friend of mine and I were living out of a hotel.
Iowa. You said?
What'd you say?
Did you say Iowa?
No, in Buffalo. No, no, a
Oh,
friend of
and you.
mine at the time. Yeah, a friend of
Okay.
mine at the time. We were staying out of a hotel, and we got busted, and we both got arrested, and she got out way before me, and I ended up doing a little bit
Damn.
of time. And then when I had gotten out, I had started hanging out with some other people. And said friend that I had gotten in trouble with started getting a little sour with me, and she took it upon herself to, I guess, to, like, she took all of my Backpage ads and my nudes and my conversations with Johns, and she put them on my Facebook page, and my whole family saw it. And I guess that's kind of what sparked me getting ready to leave New York. Obviously, I kind of had a flight or flight instinct. I was embarrassed. My grandparents had seen me naked and that I was selling myself.
Uh huh.
Um, I was absolutely mortified. And, instead of taking that as like a, hey, I should change my life, I just kind of picked up with it and ran. I had another friend who at the time was like, we were pretty, as silly as it sounds, we were both pretty into, like, the Chicago drill music and the lifestyle. And she had this bright idea of, hey, let's just go to Chicago for a weekend. And
I
that's kind
was
of what,
just
like,
about to ask you that. So look, check it out, Alana. Give me 1 second, right?
yeah,
Somebody just texted me and said it's not showing that we live no more. So
okay,
give me one minute to figure out what's.
okay.
Still, um, to the people that is saying watch. I don't know what platform y'all on, but can y'all see the live or is it? Oh, okay. I'm gonna end this one and start it right back up and send you the new link. Okay.
Okay,
So we went down, the live went down. So I'm gonna end this one and start it back up. Hold on.
got you, B.
Yo, 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 yo. We back. I got a message that said that the live went down. So I decided to go ahead and go start it over real quick. So hopefully that fixed the issue, and I hope that y'all are able to see this now. If not, we gonna have to just have y'all catch it on the replay. You feel me? But let me see if I can get the homegirl back. On Capitol Drive, it
show. It's gonna hurt in the morning. But one thing's for sure, it's gonna hurt in the morning.
All right, we bite. We back. I got the homegirl in the building. So I'm gonna ask you this, and then I'm gonna take it to where we left off, and we can get right back into it. Okay? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, 1 second. All right. Yeah. So you said the girl that you knew that started it, that helped you start it, got mad or whatever and exposed you. You said just posted your news and shit, and your grandparents seen it, correct?
It wasn't just news. It was like my ads and my conversations with Tricks. If it had just been news, I don't think it would have been, you know.
As
I mean,
bad.
it's still a
Yeah, yeah,
as
yeah.
big, it's still
It's
a
still
big
like,
deal. It's still a
yeah,
breach of privacy, but
yeah, but like you wouldn't have felt as if that portion of your life was
yeah.
exposed to your grandparents like that. And I'm pretty sure, like,
My entire family, everybody I knew, everybody I grew up with, every person in my life, the pictures and the ads and stuff got shared like hundreds of times, dude. Everybody saw them. I was absolutely mortified, and my first instinct was, "Hey, I just got to leave for a little bit." And then my friend and I had this big idea at the time, like, "Hey, we're just gonna go to Chicago. We're gonna see if we can find some rappers." Like, looking back
mm-mm-mm.
at it now, it was the silliest decision I've ever made in my life. But I can confidently say if I hadn't
Okay,
made the
look,
decision,
I was just gonna say, like, was it the silliest decision you ever made in your life, or did it actually save your life? Because
you know what?
ultimately, it led you to where you are now. Like,
Yeah,
you
yeah. A
know,
lot of girls
just
don't get out of the lifestyle that I live.
facts,
I'm grateful to say,
especially with the type of, especially with the type of love you still have in your heart. Like, you are one of the sweetest people I've ever met in my life. Like, you already know that. So, like, you don't. That's why I don't allow you to sit there and feel down on yourself for it.
feel down on myself, but I'm honest with myself,
I'm
and I
talking.
think that's really
Sometimes you do
important.
though, and
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
tell you
You're
that.
right. You're right.
I always tell you to stop talking shit about my friend, and you're my friend. But
Yeah, yeah, and I appreciate that, man. But I think a big thing for me is I can be open and honest about it with not
mhm.
only myself but other people because if one girl can listen to this and say like hear that like yeah, I did this shit for years. It beat me down. It was rough. It was intense, but like I got the hell out of it. And look at my life now and how beautiful it is. I wouldn't change it for the world. Like the things that led me away from New York led me to where I am today, and like I got all these beautiful people in Milwaukee that are super important to me and super chill, and you know I got a beautiful son and a friend group that would do anything for us, what's more, what more do I need
Yeah,
at this point?
most definitely. I feel that. So, like, now I got a question for you.
Hmm.
You said Chicago was a really bad decision, though. What happened? What happened when you got to Chicago?
Yeah, so a lot of shit happened in Chicago. Okay, so my friend and I we're living a pretty fast, heavy lifestyle. Chicago's a big city. There's a lot of opportunities for money, but there's also a lot of opportunities for foul play too. You know what I mean? We when we first moved out there, we didn't know anybody. It started off with a little trip. We went out for a weekend, and while we were out, we met some little hood boys that infatuated us. It was a lifestyle we hadn't seen. Like, yeah, Buffalo's got its hoods, but like, there's nothing like Chicago. I can confidently say those people are like bred into that. You know what I mean? People are bred into and raised into a specific type of lifestyle out there, and
Oh
it's
yeah, they
unlike
got
nothing
your
else I've ever
ass.
seen. You know what I mean?
you walk you walk right to a BET
Yeah, man, we were
video. They
hanging
got
around
your
like
ass.
we were hanging around the rappers that we saw. We thought we were the shit, dog. We were hanging around the rappers that we fucking saw on YouTube. You know what I mean?
They out there like bitches love Sosa.
Yeah, I'm bitches. It's me.
You fucking stupid. That's funny as shit.
I'm
No,
bitches.
that
He wrote
is
that song
fucking
about me.
hilarious.
I still love Chief Keef. I don't care. I have
Hey,
no shame in the game.
that shit funny as a motherfucker though. Your ass crazy. No, I'm saying yeah, ran into the rappers. Oh shit. No, but yeah, that
Yeah, yeah. We kind of lived like a double life. We obviously didn't want all of them to know everything that we did. When people, you know, sex work nowadays is a lot. People are a lot more lenient on it, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like back in the day, you couldn't let nobody know you were selling pussy because they would just, you're a trick. You have money. You're a trick. Oh, you're
you
gross.
so goddamn funny.
We were
Not
telling
thinking
these
about
rappers
nobody
we
know
had jobs at
shit
a bar, at a make believe bar. And we were like leaving to go get a hotel room, and then coming back with like a bunch of money. Like, yeah, we just got off our bartending shift. Meanwhile, I just saw
yeah,
six
yeah,
old
yeah.
men. You know what I mean?
So is that what most of the clients was like? Oh man,
You know what? It was a variety. I saw couples, and I saw
oh couples,
old men, young
love,
men.
love
I've
me
taken
some that.
virginities. I've done a lot of things, and I dabbled in a lot of different genres, I guess you could say, kinks and such. I've done a lot of different things. I had been on FetLife before, not just Backpage. You know what I mean? There's tons of different
Yeah,
opportunities when you open yourself up to those type of things. And I'm not saying like opportunities in a good way because like I'm not
man,
anyway
listen.
condoning
You
the
just
lifestyle.
you done said that like 85 times. We know you not. We know you not. You just
Okay,
telling your
okay. I just
story.
gotta reiterate. Don't go out and do this. It's
Right,
funny.
right.
We're laughing, but it's not
No,
funny.
I was laughing at the rapper part. Your ass funny and some of this shit you crazy as a motherfucker though.
I don't know what
But
went through our heads too, and it's crazy to think
yeah,
about.
like
Like
you know what went through your head? Life shit. Like
I'm gonna go out on
at
79th
some
and Kingston and hang out. Like,
at sometimes when you having fun, like a lot of shit don't be mattering to people.
and you know what? It was fun, and it was an experience, and it taught me a lot about life and people, and a lot of street smarts. And like I could say, like I got something out of it. I guess it was kind of traumatizing. Like Chicago's no joke. I've seen people die. I've been beaten. I've been robbed. You know, like the lifestyle out there. Those people are fucking relentless and ruthless. At like
You want
the
to know
age
what
of
though? You saw that shit everywhere. I'm pretty sure you see
yeah,
people die in Buffalo.
yeah, yeah. But this just like
People
I
definitely
can
die in Milwaukee too, for sure.
yeah, yeah. It is crazy out here too. You know.
And you know what? You want to know what? I don't know if it's necessarily because I've been here my whole life. I wouldn't say crazy, but I would say it's getting there though. These motherfuckers think it's Grand Theft Auto out here.
Yeah. Yeah, they
That's
do.
what.
It's like every year things get a little worse, or people get a
Yeah,
little give a little less of a fuck. You know what I mean?
facts.
I'm sorry. Am
Hey,
I allowed to cuss this much? I'm doing it
man, you can.
sometimes.
Yeah, we can say what the fuck you want to say. So check this out. Give me. We gonna put a pause in it. Don't move real quick, okay?
Okay.
I got Josh ass here. I'm finna knock this interview out so bro can continue on through his day real quick. He had a busy morning, but we got his
Okay.
ass here. So give me 1 second.
Okay.
Yo, 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 yo. Okay, I lied, y'all. I remember where we left off at. But we was in Chicago with some rappers. And then I had some questions wrote down, but most of you already answered when you was telling the story of where you at so far. So how do you now we went from Chicago and you said you went to Milwaukee after Chicago?
So okay, yo, I just got a side note. That little "Hurt in the Morning" song is kicking, dude. I'm gonna be singing it all day.
Hey, listen,
Hell,
what's crazy is people didn't even notice. It's three different versions of that song. One
yeah,
of
yeah, I really,
that
really like it.
that one is the actual intro, and then on that video I made, that's
Hmm.
the one I'm gonna be using for like media purposes, like when I make advertising videos and stuff.
Yeah.
And then I got one that's the outro that's gonna play when this go off. So
Well,
yeah,
hell yeah,
definitely,
dude. I can't wait to see what comes of this. You're starting off
man.
pretty strong, bud.
I appreciate that. So yeah, we was in Chicago with them rappers over there on Kingston.
Yes, so we were hanging out in Chicago for a while. It started off as we would just take trips to Chicago. I mean, I'm not, money was pretty expendable at that point in our lives. You know what I mean? We were making enough to just travel and do whatever the hell we wanted to do. We went to Vegas, all types of stuff. But we'd been going back and forth for a while, and eventually we kind of just started staying in Chicago more than Buffalo. After everything had gone down the way it had in Buffalo, and
Hey, hold on. Skirt, put a pause on that. We ain't finna skip over Sin City like that. You went to Vegas, huh? What the fuck?
yeah, but I only
Why
went to
y'all?
Vegas for like 2 days, and I hated it. We weren't even
Ah,
21. We couldn't do nothing.
damn,
And then you know
damn.
what? The thing is
So
that
you was out here living the life and you couldn't get a fake?
no, I don't know what the hell I was thinking. Apparently, I did, but you know what? We were in the hood. You don't need a fake ID when you know the shop owners. You know what I mean?
Facts. But
What do
yeah,
we need a fake ID for? We were drinking Hennessy and Red Bulls and driving around traffic. You know what I
yeah,
mean? That's
right. You just couldn't go in the places you wanted to. I feel that. But yeah. See, and that's why I said, like, I never really had fun in Vegas until I was grown. Like, when I went
yeah, yeah.
past 21, then I had fun in that motherfucker.
We went out there and we had tried to post some ads and like make some money and hit some tricks, but selling pussy's legal in Vegas. They got the
Yeah.
top notch, baddest of the baddest girls available for the lowest prices at all times. You know what I mean? Of course, they're
Yeah.
not going to go through some 19-year-old on Backpage from a different state. It was
Right?
obvious. We just didn't think about it. It was like we woke up
Yeah.
one morning, we were like, we need a trip, and then we just bought tickets to Vegas, went to Vegas, did our thing. It was a cool experience. Like lots of little things like that happened, but uh,
I
we went right
love
back
being
to.
in Vegas. Like, oh my
Yeah, it's
God.
fun. We
Like,
stayed on Fremont. I loved it so much.
because I be up at all hours of the night. So to walk outside and it's just 3:30 in the fucking morning, it's just fucking cracking out here still. Like that
Yeah,
should be
yeah,
crazy. Cause I don't do shit but people watch and buy silly shit off the strip, like one of them big ass grenade drinks and shit. I just be on
yep,
other shit.
yep.
Like it's fun out there, man. You can rent shit, go places. Everywhere got something inside of it. Like you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
see, we didn't really allow ourselves to experience much of the excursions and stuff because we were so
You was so
bent on
busy
just trying
on
to make
your
some money. You know
excursion.
what I mean?
Yeah, you got to. How else you gonna live? Shit.
I think we met some random dude who was doing like that bone cracking dancing on the streets on Fremont, and he bought us a bottle of Hennessy, and it was off from
Nice.
there. It was
Man,
just,
listen. We ran into that dude Welvin the Great on the strip. That shit was hilarious. Dude, like my Vegas trip, I might have to do a whole one of our Vegas trips. We might have to do a whole motherfucking episode on that one because the shit was crazy. We met the dude at the we had met somebody at the Miramar once, right? And then they had an event at Site 1A that we ended up going to. And then Seth had an after party for that motherfucker. And we sat at the after party all night till people pretty much either trickled out or went to sleep. And then there was a couple people in the other room taking a ride on the village bicycle. Um, but they dude was like he looked at his phone like, "Yo, it's EDC weekend in Las Vegas." We was like, "Oh, that's tight." He was like, "Man, we should all go. We get to laughing and shit. Like, yeah, let's all just fucking go to Vegas tomorrow." Like, he's like, "No, for real, we should go." We like, "Man, we ain't finna be by." He was like, "I'll buy everybody at this table a ticket right now." He was like, "All right, IDs on the table." Everybody put their me, Ashley, Seth, and him. Everybody put their ID on the table. He literally booked everybody a flight. He booked rooms, gave motherfuckers pocket money, weed money, fucking acid, all of that shit, bro. And then we flew to Vegas. He literally bought every. We flew to Vegas that same day. It was like 4 or 5 in the morning. By like 3, 4 o'clock in that afternoon, we was flying out of Midway on our way to Vegas, and he bought
Wow.
everybody tickets. That shit was crazy though. But yeah, so back to this shit. So y'all was only in Vegas a couple days. I thought it was going to be some interesting shit from Vegas, but
No, no, we did too. We did too. I'm not gonna lie, it was beautiful, and fun was to be had. We were just young and dumb and trying to make money, and it was just not the right spot to try to do so. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, so we had been going back and forth a bunch from Buffalo to Chicago. Eventually, we kind of just started staying in Chicago more than Buffalo. My friend at the time had been dating a little gangbanger.
Let me
Uh,
ask you something before you continue. Was
yeah,
y'all driving?
yes, yeah, we
Oh,
went
y'all
through.
some motherfucking gangsters. You got me. Now I've drove. We drove Brooklyn, Queens, and shit to Milwaukee. I drove from New Jersey to Milwaukee because I actually drove from Brooklyn to New Jersey. But out there, she drove from Milwaukee to Brooklyn. Like we drove, we took that drive, but y'all was constantly taking that drive. Y'all
Hmm.
crazy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Eventually, we just kind of stopped taking that drive. My friend was dating a boy in Chicago. He was no damn good too. Him and his little friends always putting us in a bunch of bullshit. There's some super young, super heavy gang members, and it was just a hot, fast life to us. It was something different. You know what I mean? And my best friend at the time that I was doing everything with, she was from New York too. The one that I left home with, was seeing that boy, and things started to trickle down with them, and then she started seeing this other guy. It's just fast life. People in and out of our lives. It's kind of hard to keep people around when you're not being honest about everything that you're doing. You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah, like so. Did any did any moment like what happened in Buffalo happen to y'all while y'all was in Chicago?
no, and no one really exposed us. We were pretty, like I said, we pretended like we had bartending jobs. We were pretty secretive about what we did for the most part. But when the few people that did know what was going on, obviously took advantage of the situation for sure.
Hmm.
Um,
Now,
so
when you
so
say
we
took advantage of the situation, what you mean?
trying to get us to buy things. Even when as far as
Like give me some money or I'm telling type shit.
that has happened. Absolutely, people are shady. They'll sneak some shit out your pocket. They'll ask you to buy shit, and we're just fucking young and naive. And honestly, like I'm not gonna lie, I was fucking terrified of these kids. I was young as hell in a whole different city and experiencing shit I've never seen before in my entire life.
You want to know what's crazy? That's the part that people don't realize. Like, yeah, sometimes motherfuckers be coming around, but they don't understand the fear that come with that shit. Sometimes, like,
No, it's terrifying. Like there were so many situations where
yeah,
I
where
just had
you
to like snuck up and shut up, like I'm not even gonna lie to you. They used to like make us drive around while they were trying to like do drills and shit, and it was absolutely horrendous to even like think it. As an adult and as I've matured, it's like why was I even allowing myself to be put in them type of situations, man? I mean, we got shot at, our car shot up, hanging out with people that really have a vengeance for each other, and
listen, same.
that
That's the
shit's
like
insane.
a whole nother
And I
lifetime, bro. Going through
voluntarily
that
put
type,
myself through this for a
and then
little bit of clout.
that's the
For
worst part. People don't understand that, like, and then back then in our minds, that shit was normal. Like that's
it
just how life
was, it
was.
was,
That's just
it
how,
literally
and it's not though. Like in real
no.
life, we wasn't supposed to be doing shit like that. We weren't supposed to be going through shit like that at the ages that we was doing shit like that that we was going through shit like that at. And that's why in life you just got to be glad that you made it out of those situations and we where we at now, because man, life was unkind back then, and a lot of people I know that I was out there with ain't here today to tell us this. They didn't make it, like, and it's a lot of motherfuckers like that, bro. Like, and you just got to be grateful, man, because shit, yeah, we did a lot of shit we wasn't supposed to do, but I don't allow myself to feel too bad about that because that's life, man. Shit happens.
I don't feel too crazy bad about it because if I had even picked up doing that shit and moved out of state, I would never met any of y'all, and that's real shit. My life is
Right.
how it is right now because of what I went through.
Went through,
It's not
yep, that,
perfect by any fucking means, but I got so much love and light surrounding me every day, and it would not
man,
be
listen, people
possible if
don't
I hadn't gone through
understand.
the.
Yeah, if you wouldn't have went through the shit, that people don't understand that though. Like, it's sometimes it's light at the end of the tunnel. You gotta love yourself.
You know, I keep this part of my life fairly secretive. I'm sure a lot of people that are going to listen to this are going to be a little shocked, but like at the end of the day, like I'm not ashamed to say I went through what I went through to get to where I am.
Hey, if they are shocked, fuck them.
Yeah,
No,
you know that.
I'm just fucking around. I got a question for you though. What's the most you
Yeah,
ever made in a night?
if I really really stuck my mind to it, I could make 2 grand in a day easily, just like
Nice.
morning to night, and then it was gone because we were rolling off pills and fucking buying
You want to know
fucking
why?
why.
Because you knew you could make 2 grand tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah, we were buying designer clothes, fresh Jordans before they even came out from this guy that we knew in Chicago who would sell them to us a couple weeks early. You know what I mean? It was,
The
and
one
it's sad to
thing.
say I touched so much money. I don't got shit to show for it too. I did
Hmm.
all of that to myself, and I have nothing to show for it. But like, but at the end of the day, I have experiences. I guess. Like I said, it wasn't all. It's a very broad thing. It wasn't all bad all the time.
Man, listen. If I could trade experience for money for all the shit I done did back then and all the shit I had back then, I'll fuck this experience. Get my motherfucking money.
For real.
Oh
Where are
God,
all
man.
them shoes now? Where the fuck are all them
Facts,
shoes?
like man, facts. If I can have all that shit back now, but listen, a person that don't work hard for it don't give a fuck. They gonna blow through that shit. But a
You know
motherfucker,
what? There's a point in my life too where I thought that was like all I could do, and that was all. There's a certain type of high you get off of doing something like that too. It's addictive knowing like I have this type of power over men. I guess is this how I felt at the time? You know what I mean? Men want me opposed to their wives, or men want to pay money to spend time with me. It was empowering, I guess, in a sense. Like,
yeah.
and I'm not in any way,
You want to
shape,
know
or form
what? I don't know how
glorifying it.
true it is, but they say that's the oldest profession for women.
And you know what? I don't knock the women who do it these days. I hope that women know that there's a lot safer things to do in life. It's not. It was.
Fact. But
I laugh and joke.
honestly, a
I
lot of
laugh.
people don't went digital.
Yeah. And I laugh and joke about all the funny times and crazy things that I went through. But at the end of the day, like sex work is a very serious thing, and there's a really deep and dark side to it. You know what I mean? There's a lot of shit
Fact.
that people don't know. There's a big difference, in my opinion, and I might get some hate for this. There's a big difference between taking some pictures of your Gucci and actually going out there and having to, you know,
Yeah, yeah,
do the
yeah.
shit
That's
and put
why
yourself
the
in situations that are
different kind of
horrendous.
grind.
It is a completely different type of grind, and I think a lot of people don't recognize that these days. Sex work is a broad term, and there's tons of different
Mhm.
forms of it. But there's a dark side, and the shit that I did, you know, is
You,
no bueno. You know what I
you
mean?
want to know how I know this? Because of the
How?
fucking internet, man. Listen,
Yeah,
the shit that people do to people on film, they not doing that shit for free. So the shit
nope.
that they doing for money is crazy because
It's insane. It's
man,
insane. I've
like
done some weird shit, man.
who remembers 2 girls, 1 cup?
You
Man,
know,
like
yeah.
that's when I knew this world was fucked up. Like I knew the world was fucked up. I've never been the same since 2 girls, 1 cup. That was the worst thing
I
I've ever
remember. I
seen in my
remember
life.
so specifically when I saw that damn video. It's because
Yeah.
I was like, I had to have been like 11 years old, and I heard my mom and her friend gagging in the computer room, and I'm like, "What the fuck
Yeah.
are you guys gagging about?" And I walk in, and they're like, go away, right now!" And they're just like laughing, like, "Why are you watching this?"
Terrible. Like that was like, ew. They was tripping for that shit,
But people pay for that shit. I'm not gonna lie.
man.
I've done things similar, or
Yeah,
not like I never like to.
same.
You know what I mean? I'm not. I've never.
No, go ahead. I'm listening.
But like people will pay for you to shit on them and shit like that. I hate to say it, but there's some gross motherfuckers out there. If you're gonna pay me $200 to shit on your chest, I guess $200 it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, $200 is $200. I got a shit
And
anyway.
that's the way
Once
my
in
brain
a
thought about it. I didn't,
yeah,
I remember so specifically. It's crazy to think of these days too, because I work my ass off now. I have a child, and I have a
yeah.
job that I really, really enjoy, and it's crazy to think that like I don't know where I was going with that. Sorry, I'm a little high, but it's the damn done did me. Um, there was a point in my life too where I really only thought that's all I was good for. I was so accustomed to it, and I'd just been through so much at that point that like I remember the very day that Backpage got shut down, I thought my life was over. I did not know what I was going to do with myself. It was like the most dehumanizing feeling ever. I cannot even put it into words, like how scared I was, because I didn't think I was going to be able to do that anymore, and which I continue to do. After Backpage shut down, people found their ways to get a hold of you. It was like a
Hmm.
catastrophe in the sex work industry. Um, that's kind of what led us to Milwaukee. We had some friends in Chicago who had like an uncle out here, and we ended up coming out here to party a few times, and then we realized that, people from Milwaukee were still hitting up our phones in Chicago because after Backpage shut down, people were just looking for girls at that point, and they were just like, "Yo, you got, share numbers." It honestly boomed business because you couldn't just go on and search for and find something new every time. You know what I mean?
You want to
Um,
know why though? Because Milwaukee has always been like that though. Like they used to have. I don't know if they still do. They used to have the players' ball here all the time. Pippin
yeah,
Ken, one of the world's most famous fences from here, and that kind of stuff. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. There is
But
such a vast, wide, huge
so how
underground
long?
world.
What's crazy is I love how you transitioned to telling me how you got to Milwaukee without me even having to ask, so I can scratch that question off. But check this shit out though, right? How long had you been in Milwaukee when we met?
Okay, so I had been in Milwaukee. I met you right after I turned 21, 8 years ago now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I had only been in Milwaukee for maybe like 6 or 7 months on and off. I started hanging out with some kids from the hood who brought me to this party. This party house on Locust and Palmer. I don't know if anyone who's listening knows about that party house, but that motherfucker was crazy back in the day. And we were still going to Locust and Palmer parties, and we were like, pretending we had the bartending jobs, and we're sneaking away and hitting tricks and stuff. I'm sure people caught on and kind of knew what was going on eventually, especially the people that were around us often. But Jack McCann one day brought me to that party at by Vitucci's, and it was
Yeah,
over from there. That's where I met Ashley, and we just drank Bloody Marys on the porch all night.
yeah.
I had only been there about 6 or 7 months, but something about Milwaukee just stuck home. I met you guys and started hanging out with y'all, and then eventually you guys introduced me. And I don't know if anyone who knows listening, I met my son's father through you and Ashley, and
Yeah.
I eventually met Randy. And I guess the end of my sex work came to, like, I just didn't want to live that lifestyle anymore. Randy had been going through some shit, caught a case on his own shit, was going through that, and I was like, both of us can't be living hot and doing things crazy. So I had a friend who was going to church, and I asked if I can go in with her for like a sermon, and they had this program called Celebrate Recovery,
Mm-hmm.
and it's kind of what jump started me getting out of that lifestyle and meeting Randy. We've had our beef and we've had our issues by all means, but I can seriously will give that man credit for helping me get out of that lifestyle.
Nice, nice. That's what's up. So I got a question.
Uh-huh.
Do you, during out those times, did you have any regular clients?
I had tons, absolutely tons, especially after Backpage got shut down. I had tons of people, and you know what? It wasn't. I can say straight up right now too. There were tons of people that I saw that were non-sexual, that were just people that were genuinely lonely and needed a friend, and people that would, pay me for my time, and people that I often think about nowadays and wonder how they're doing, because I'm still a
Hey,
human and I still have
yeah.
a big heart, and we may have met in not necessarily the most positive way, but I still think about the impact of all those people and those experiences had on my life.
Now I got a couple questions. Now, am I allowed to crack jokes?
Yeah, you great jokes.
Yeah, you missed it because some of them was beating that shit up, wasn't they? No, I'm bullshit. But listen, you out of pocket though. So you was charging motherfuckers to hang out with them. You ain't even give them no coochie. Oh, that's mean.
Sometimes
That's
people didn't want
mean.
that. You know what I
I
mean?
know. Yeah,
Sometimes
I'm
people
fucking
didn't
with
want
you. I'm
those type
fucking
of
with
situations. And
you.
it's
Sometimes they
the
wanted
more
you
I
to
think
fuck
about
them,
it
huh?
now, the more I think about it now too, the more sad I get, because those are people that genuinely just needed somebody to give them a chance. And it's sad that, and I feel bad. I feel bad as I've grown that I took advantage of that to make money. And I know I shouldn't feel. I mean, I know they willingly did that
Don't
too.
you do that. I told you about that feeling bad shit for all you know. there was light at the end of that rainbow. You probably saved their life. For all you know, if they wouldn't have met you, they'd have killed themselves. Or maybe they met their forever friend after they met you. You don't know these things. See, when we stroll down memory lane, for some reason, everybody always seems to jump straight to the sad or the negative. Why don't we ever go down memory lane and think positive? Maybe these
Yeah.
people are somewhere with a big ass smile on their face right now, kicking it. You don't know that. So don't sit
And
and
I
feel like
wish the
that.
best for everybody that I experienced in that part of my life. And like I said, if it hadn't happened, then I wouldn't be where I am today. But I do have a lot of regrets, and that's just being human. I wish things could have gone a little different because, like I said, that lifestyle is extremely traumatizing, and I don't think I'll ever be able
Yeah.
to completely get that out of my head or be
No, you won't.
a normal person again. But at the end of the day, I guess it just kind of it's all about what I can do with that and learn from that. And like I said, you know, I hope that the next woman looks at herself and has some respect for herself and decides to be safe. You know,
Yeah, most definitely.
I feel
I
so much
definitely know
better.
that girl.
I don't make anything near obviously what I used to make, but I feel so much better at the end of the day knowing I worked my
Yeah,
ass off in a legal, legitimate fucking way for what I have. Knowing that every single thing that my child has and myself have, I've grinded for. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, most definitely.
There's nothing more fulfilling in my life lately, recognizing like, I'm really things aren't perfect, and it's not all fucking white picket fences, and I'm exhausted all of the time, most of the time, but I did that, and
Yeah,
sex work was the easy way out. It was the easy route out for me. I could have worked just like anyone else could have, but I wanted to live a specific lifestyle, and I wasn't smart, and I wanted to be in with certain people, and I let the greed and the obsession with the fast life kind of just take over.
you want to know what I say though about that type of shit? It's the see, you forever had the product availability. You didn't have to go stock your shelves, so to say. You know what I mean? Like you already had the shelves with you. It was an
Yeah,
unlimited, so it's like having a unlimited supply of money almost when you doing shit like that because you always gonna find somebody that want it.
it kind of creates a negative cycle though if you think about it, you know what I mean? At
Yes,
least
it
for
does.
me it
It's
did.
not. Yeah, for everyone it does because, like I told you, a person that doesn't have to work hard for it just gonna do it frivolously. While you was out there spending money trying to buy people's love and shit like that, like
Exactly what I was
you
doing,
was
and
out there
it's
buying
exactly what I
friendship.
was doing.
Yeah, yeah, I know, I know. I didn't grow up in the community, motherfucker. Like, I just try to keep that. There's no remembering to forget though. So you'll never forget whatever you went through to get to wherever you going.
Yeah,
We all are forever a work in progress. You're never gonna be completed. Because
absolutely.
once you feel completed, there's nothing for you to gain anymore. And that's when a real problem gets. You gotta always have goals that you strive for, like that you because why are you working hard? Do you know why you working hard? Do you have goals? Yes. You know what you're working hard for and what you're trying to gain. So, but we done pretty much came to the end of your journey when we met you and all of that shit. We all kicked it at the
Yeah,
tail, high
yeah.
as a
I
motherfucker,
I
high
can
as a
gladly
bitch.
say you guys coming into my life and all the other people that I'm very close to that I met around the time I met you were a big factor in me realizing that I'm worth so much more than what I was allowing myself to be, I'm
I'm
really
gonna tell
grateful that
you
I
this
met y'all.
too. I love you to death, but don't ever give us credit for your life. You made that choice. You fixed you. We
I did,
just
but
showed you
if I
that
hadn't
people.
had people,
We just
if I
showed you that it don't cost for love. People gonna love you regardless for who you are. That's the only thing we showed you. You made the changes. You did whatever you did for your life to become better. We just was there to show you that shit. We gave you a hug. You did. We gave you what you needed, some love, and you
exactly,
did.
and
You did.
I
You
hadn't
did the rest.
experienced that real raw. legitimate friendship and love in a long time. You know what I mean? Like I said, I was
Yeah.
living a crazy lifestyle, and the people that I was putting myself around were shady, and did not have my best intention at heart. And like meeting people like you guys that really genuinely had good intentions, that was a big life changer for me. And I am grateful for that. And I'm going to give you guys credit where it's due, because if it weren't people that took their time and were patient with me while I was changing and getting my shit together, I would have been alone. You know.
Yeah, I definitely feel that. So we talked about the first person you ever dealt with. We talked about your regular client. So I got one more question about that. Do you remember the last person you ever dealt with?
Yeah, it was, and it was actually a very often regular client of mine. Um,
Mm.
he, he was an older man, lived in Oshkosh. Um, saw me quite a few times a week. And at towards the end, he was the only person I saw. I think about him often to this day, but I not in like in just like a
Yeah, yeah, we understand.
yeah, you know
You,
what I mean.
I,
Um,
I
I
wonder
do
what
remember
he's
the last
doing
time I
now.
saw somebody, and I remember the moment that I said I would never do this again either, and I haven't.
Yeah, that's what's up, man.
It just kind of ended. And then when it
Yeah.
ended, I got a job at a gas station, made $8.50 an hour for a couple of years, and got everything's gone up from there.
Ah, okay. Okay. That's what's up, man. Well, I'm proud of you. I'm glad you are happy with where you at in life. I'm glad that everything worked out for you. I'm happy that you and your son's happy. I'm glad that everything continues to prosper for you, and I'm proud of you. I'm happy for you.
Appreciate that a lot. I'm really proud of you guys too, man. Life's ever evolving, and you know, I'm never gonna stop striving. I'm proud of myself too, but I know I can always do better in anything I do. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
every day of my
everybody
life
go.
is
We can always do more, but
exactly,
sometimes,
exactly.
sometimes you still got to take that time to sit and appreciate what you are doing, even though you can always do more.
And I am. You know what I mean? And I think that's a good way to put it too.
Hmm.
You pretty much just said what needs to be said with it.
Well, I'm gonna let you continue the rest of the day before you got to go to work, and I appreciate you for coming on and telling your story and being a part of the pilot episode.
Got you, B. I love you guys so much, and I hope you all have a good day. And um, everybody out there, just know that if you feel like something in your life needs to change, just do it, because you never know how fulfilled you'll be once you do.
Now I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Can I put a picture of you up for the people that may not know you?
Yes, you can.
Okay, I'm gonna hold on. I'm gonna let you see it. I'm gonna put one of my favorite pictures of you up real quick for the people that's never met the lovely Alana. Here she
It's a really
is.
old picture. Wow, I haven't seen that
I
picture in a
know
long time.
that's who I met right here.
Yep. Yep.
This is who I met. All right, thank you for
Absolutely.
coming. I
Of
appreciate you
course,
so
Jude. I
much.
can't wait to listen to you guys more. I can't wait and listen to this radio show more often. Appreciate you having me
Yeah.
on.
Yep. See you later.
All right, talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye. Yeah, y'all. That was the redemption hour. I hope y'all really, really enjoyed that one as much as I did. Like I knew that was gonna be a really, really, really good one. I'm proud of her for sure. That's the homie.